can you tell us a little bit more about OpenLoot and what you guys are putting together with War Park?
Yeah, so we announced Open Loot last week, and it's really the public announcement of something we've been doing over the last few months.
What's Big Time been up to? What's new over there?
BigTime is continuing to evolve in concert with OpenLoot, which is our parent company now, which we announced last week. We've had some pretty exciting releases over the last month or so. So we kicked off our Ruby Pass period about 2.5 weeks ago. That about doubled the number of players inside the game. We keep adding them every week. Those are those Ruby Passes you just mentioned. We're giving them out still, and then uploading new users every Friday. And then on the Open Loot side, we actually just announced a new game that's going to be coming out. It's called War Park. It's a first-person shooter game, super exciting, and that's going to be the next thing that's going to come out under the Open Loot banner.
That's awesome. And I don't know if it's any different on the NFT dropping side, but it seems to me like I've been paying attention to you guys since the jump. It seems like way more NFTs are dropping right now. Is that actually the case, or is am I just seeing things?
We added these fragments in there, and those fragments you can collect, and then if you add them together, sometimes they can turn into an NFT. So that ability to redeem things is still high, is definitely higher than it was during Jade. That was a new feature, but the overall NFT drop rate is definitely lower than during Jade, Silver, or certainly Gold. But the thing is there's a ton more players now, so you're hearing a lot more players, and because everybody had to start with new stats, the distribution of NFTs is a little bit more equitable now. But the more you play, the higher the level you get, the better your chance of getting an NFT is. It varies a little bit. What I think you'll probably notice is that there's more people getting NFTs, whereas before some people leveled up so quickly that they actually just got more NFTs. And so it may seem, like more people are getting them, and that's correct. But in reality, like the NFT drop rate is definitely lower than it was during Jade. But each person in Jade was getting more.
Can you tell us anything about Spaces? Any new news? Anything coming up on that front?
I don't have any new news, but I'd probably look for an announcement on Space in the next month or so.
That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, the ability to create skins is just going to open up all kinds of opportunity for people to have these new dynamics and mechanics in this blockchain game that just previously didn't exist in most games. We're super excited for that.
Yeah, the desire to be able to craft and do combat-oriented missions is something that's pretty hard, and you've generally had to make it just a choice between the two in other types of games, particularly in Web3. But we tried to accommodate both of those inside of Big Time. The early launch was obviously very combat focused, very much a dungeon crawler. But as we expand, add more content, you're going to see more of that community and crafting aspect of Big Time that we think is going to really expand the reach of the game.
How impactful is streaming in helping spread the word about Big Time and Web3 games in general?
It's super important to us, especially while we're in an invite only phase of the game. We can't accommodate all the players that want to get into the game. So what we do is try and highlight the people who are in the game and making content. So we work very closely with our content creators. I know we've been working closely with your team too. But ultimately, one of the big things that's hampering Web3 games is people think they don't have good gameplay. And for the most part, they're right. And one of the things that's different about Big Time is we think we have a really good game. Fundamentally, even if you don't know anything about NFTs, it's a high quality game. And so we want to put content out there. We want to be on Twitch. We want to be on YouTube showing this is the coolness. Like, this is the good stuff. Ultimately, this is the future, and you should want to get involved.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why, we're putting such a heavy premium on content creation as well, because that's what we have to do in order to spread the word. I can tell you guys, King P and the rest of the Joystick Big Time team have been sending us videos every time they find NFTs, and they are finding them all the time. These guys are having an absolute blast. I mean, when you're playing a video game and all of a sudden you find a $1,000 NFT just for playing it as a loot drop, the reactions that they get are absolutely awesome. And it's one of the things that we're going to be repurposing and putting out there so that we can not only be educating people, but showing them, look how much fun this can be. And like you said, Matthew, most of the games in the space, they're not fun yet. But guys, this is like we're in the infancy of the infancy stages. If you look at the timeline of blockchain gaming, this is just getting going. And the only reason Big Time is so far ahead of everybody is because Ari had the foresight years ago to see what was coming. He knew that blockchain gaming was going to act as this bridge that brings people essentially to the metaverse, right? I think that's pretty much where we're headed with all of this.
I agree. And like one of the things about that foresight that you mentioned is it's not just seeing that Web3 games needed to get better. It's that you needed to have seen it years ago because it takes so freaking long to put one of these games together. You know, we've been in development about 2.5 years and we're still not done. And I think we're going pretty quickly. In reality, something like a high quality MMO style game probably takes 3 years. And then even after that, you continuously add new content and change it and update it. It's a work in progress at kind of any given time. So while maybe a lot of people kind of saw that, hey, other Web3 games aren't that much fun, we got to make something that's high quality first. Well, if they came up with that idea last year, they're still at the best about 1 to 2 more years away from coming to market with that. But what Ari and the Big Time team saw very early on was that we needed to make something that was good and fun.
How many of the different environments have you guys created in Big Time so far?
We call our world timeshares. We have one right now. It's called Time's End, but we're gonna release some more. So we've teased some content. I think 3 or 4 additional ones. We have Epic City, which is very community based. We have a Cowboys and Dinosaurs theme one. We have a futuristic setting one. We have an Atlantis theme one. All of those will be released kind of at various points during global launch, but we are going to release at least one more timeshare probably during the invite only beta, so probably like a few months away from that one. But we've got the bones or the skeleton developed for a whole bunch of those.
What about Open Loot? Can you tell us a little bit more about Open Loot and what you guys are putting together with War Park?
Yeah, so we announced Open Loot last week, and it's really the public announcement of something we've been doing over the last few months. So Open Loot takes everything that Big Time kind of does uniquely, except for game development, and then opens it up to other games that are trying to enter into Web3. That's somewhat verbose. What do I mean by that? So a lot of things at Big Time are pretty unique, right? We do our own marketplace. We have a very unique way of marketing. We know a lot for integrating credit cards into NFT acquisitions, loot boxes, all of that experience we're trying to bring to other high quality projects as they enter into Web3. So one of those projects is War Park. War Park, it's a tank shooter game, and they're getting ready to launch probably 12 to 18 months, pretty far away. But they want to work in NFTs. They want to have a marketplace that both Web 2 and Web 3 users can access. And that's where OpenLoot really comes into it. So we just announced a few more details about it today, and ultimately the big time marketplace is going to merge into the OpenLoot marketplace, and then there's going to be users are going to be able to kind of transact either Warpark or big time NFTs on that place.
And is your guys' plan to just continue to add titles under Open Loot and into this marketplace?
Yeah, so we have Warpark. That's the first one. We've got a couple more, which are we'll probably be announcing here in over the next couple of weeks. You can go and check out openloot.com to see what those games are. But the preference is very much for quality over quantity. There's a lot of games that are coming out, but the games that we're really looking for need to be really good. They really need to be game focused as opposed to blockchain focused. And we think that when you have a game focus first, that's going to lead to a lot more users, that's going to need a lot more players, and ultimately a kind of a more sustainable economic model for those games.
And speaking of Open Loot, I think we got Michael here with us. What's up, Michael?
Yeah, things are pretty good. Lots of exciting. I mean, I'm sure Matt covered a lot of it, but lots of really exciting things coming up at Big Time. Should be a big space reveal soon. We spend more and more time in the economy every day. Long, long calls. But then on the open loop side, we just announced today our partnership with Hit Factor. They have a game coming out called War Park, which is like a PvP tank game. World of Tanks. I think is the name of the bigger app by Wargaming. sort of similar, but I think that this is a lot cooler. And it's like up to 32 versus 32. So one of the things we're doing that's really cool here at BigTime and OpenLoot is we are working with other gaming studios. We're looking for games that are just as good as BigTime, and we think we have at least 3 of them. And since the announcement, we've received countless applications. So Matt, it's going to be a super, super busy year. Get ready.
And then again, if you want to know what the heck Michael is talking about and what OpenLoot is, like all of this is part of the same ecosystem. Like BigTime is a part of OpenLoot, and then Joystick is a part of BigTime, and then who knows? Fingers crossed. Maybe even Joystick may be a part of other OpenLoot type games too. So very exciting stuff.
Okay, so I've got a question about the space. Would there be more utility for the space in the future? Like, you know how like in other games that are coming up, you could like build mini maps on their land tokens and like have mini games and all. Would that be possible for space in the future?
Yeah, I mean the possibilities in the future are pretty wide. What the initial features will kick off with is an ability to craft and upgrade your own NFTs, the ability to do an in-game to collect the in-game token while you're playing and collecting it as loot, and then it's also a hangout area. So you can customize your hangout area, you can make it look like whatever you want. You can make the Taj Mahal of space. That's what it'll start out as. Now, there's a lot of possibility for adding more stuff into the future, but stay tuned for more information about features of space here in the next few weeks, and you may get a better answer to that.
Okay, so you said there are other AAA games they are going to be in partnership with OpenLead. Would the NFTs be interoperable and the game worlds be interoperable so you could like switch game worlds?
Sort of. So one thing that you would see would be you'd see most of the games would be available on a common launcher. So kind of like when you launch Steam, you can play Counter-Strike, you can play other titles from Valve, and then their partnered games, right? So you'd see something like that. You would be able to, in the same marketplace, you'd be able to sell big time stuff, and then you could use that USDC to then buy Warpark stuff, or vice versa. So you'd have that. Any game company could actually choose to encode their game in a way where another asset from any game in the OpenLoot universe could have some utility or appearance in any game, and that would also include any NFT or any on any chain for that matter. So, but we're early days, guys. I think you're going to see less of that. Really, for at least like the next year, simply because it's just the early days. You know what I mean? Like everyone's just trying to get a game out the door. Everyone's just trying to make it playable. Getting into interoperability stuff. It's kind of like, I mean, we have to get so much done before that. You know what I mean?